don't think we kept you waiting for too long. Only 4 minutes or so, I believe.
Oh, no, don't worry.
How are you today?
Very fine, thank you. How about you?
Working. Oh, I'm in perfect shape. I'm in India in an Ayurveda retreat, and I have never been better than at this place. I can only recommend it.
Thank you.
Let me give a brief introduction to who you are. You're a Serbian diplomat and politician. You served as the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Federal Republic of Yugoslavia between 1998 and 2000. Since 2005, you have served as the president of the Belgrade Forum for a World of Equals that advocates non-interventionism and opposes humanitarian wars. You're going to tell us a little about how NATO expansion has led to the Ukraine crisis, how the sanctions impact us, the West, much more than Russia, how the strengthening of the synergy of the new Silk Road and the Eurasian Economic Community and the accelerated reduction of the West participation in world trade and GDP are to be expected. I am very happy that you decided to join us today because it's rare that politicians speak out in this manner. A few do, and you're one of them.
Thank you very much for your invitation and for efforts that we see each other this morning. I would like particularly to thank Mr. Rabelstein for his efforts, which led to our meeting today. Belgrade Forum is a non-governmental, non-party association of Serbian intellectuals, and we exist 23 years now. Our chief objectives are struggling for equality of all states, all nations, all peoples, and all individuals. And so far on these subjects and related, we have published about 150 books. I can say out of nothing because we have no support either from government or any party or any NG from the West. We are entirely independent. It is difficult, but we are honored to be free and to be independent. Everything has a price, and independence has the highest price. If you permit me, I would recall today that yesterday was the 23rd anniversary of the beginning of NATO aggression against Yugoslavia, against Serbia and Montenegro. And yesterday was a day of remembrance for all those who were killed during the NATO aggression. Actually, there were about 4,000 to 4,500 of killed people, including dozens of children from 1 to 18 years of age. And we are today faced with very great danger, what is happening in Ukraine, but we should recall indeed that it is not the Ukraine which is encountering the first war in Europe after the Second World War. It was NATO aggression 23 years ago, which was really the first war on European soil after the Second World War. And it is nothing to be proud, but we need to state facts. In my opinion, this NATO aggression 1999 was the war in Europe against Europe, participated by Europe. And Europe and we here in the Balkans still continue to suffer profound consequences of NATO aggression. It was the war, as you will recall, contrary to UN Charter, contrary to Helsinki Final Document, and contrary to Nuremberg principles, contrary to concrete resolutions of UN General Assembly on defining the aggression and forbidding the aggression. It is the fact that bombs had been falling over Serbia 23 years ago, but the tragic circumstances are that those bombs also destroyed the security and cooperation order in Europe and in the world. This war was a precedent in the way that it was induced without authorization of UN Security Council and without any real justification. It was the war of NATO outside of its territory as defined in founding 1949 Act. It was not the violation of the law, but it was also a violation of NATO Founding Act and of many constitutions of NATO member countries. Not many parliaments were consulted, or not many parliaments had approved that war, but it was conducted regardless of some democratic procedures and regulations.
But Mr. Jovanovic, I don't want to be rude, but I would like to interrupt you because we have a short clip that shows our former chancellor who participated in that war admitting that there was no legal justification for it. Give us just 1 minute and watch this man admitting this was wrong.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Spielt das mal ein, bitte, Regie.
Das rechtfertigt doch noch nicht die Mittel, die er einsetzt, oder?
Das that you're using.
Nobody says so. I just don't think that it's enough to condemn something. Of course, what is happening at the Crimean is something that is contrary to international law, but you know why I'm a bit more careful to point my finger at this. I would like to say that in this forum because I did the same thing myself. What did you do? Well, I violated international law. No, let me point out what it was all about. When the question was, how will the Republic of Yugoslavia develop the Kosovo War, we sent our airplanes, our tornadoes to Serbia, and together with NATO, we bombed a sovereign state without the say-so of the Security Council.
Wow.
Hold a second. Without a Security Council vote. That's the way it was.
So that was a very brief interview of Mr. Schröder, our former chancellor. He gave this interview in 2014 on the occasion of Russia taking over Crimea. And he said, the interview is obviously someone who's really, really stupid. He's trying to laugh off everything he's saying, but our chancellor was strong enough to stand up to him, and he said, well, you know what? I cannot really chide the Russians for taking over Crimea because I did it myself. I violated international law without a UN resolution. I made Germany participated in a bombing war against Serbia. He admits it. At least he admits it.
Well, Mr. Schröder is not the only one leader of a NATO country at the time who admits that it was illegal war, illegal aggression. Even Secretary General of NATO, Mr. Stoltenberg, recognizes that it was contrary to the international law, but he claims that they must have done it because of humanitarian purposes. Actually, all this is, let me be really rude now, all this is based on lies, on constructions, on violations of moral principles, of disrespect of institutions of the countries and disrespect of public of the countries of NATO. Let me just mention, because you gave me the platform with this clip, that many lies preceded and followed during the NATO aggression. First lie was that there was attempt to resolve the problem of Kosovo and Metohija by negotiations in Rambouillet. There were no Rambouillet negotiations. There is no Rambouillet document. It was just alibi diplomacy of USA to show that there is no way but to bomb Slobodan Milosevic. There is no way of peaceful resolution, while a number of German diplomats and German generals claim just the opposite. General Lokvai, for instance, who was one of the leading OSCE personalities in Vienna, said, no, sir, diplomatic and peaceful resources have not been exploited before they stood to their arms, to the bombs. Then there was, you will recall that famous invented plan of horseshoe plan, which proved to be construction of some secret services. There was also a claim that Serbs have gathered over 100,000 of Albanians at the stadium in Pristina, which appeared to be a mere lie. Then there was a claim that Milosevic police executed civilians in Račak, which served as a trigger while official reports of international forensic team did not find any proof that it was execution or that they were really civilians. Just the opposite. It was anti-terrorist action, and some people lost lives on both sides in that action. And you will recall that good German TV team made a film which is titled "All Began with a Lie." And this film could not be shown on German television for years, but only recently it got to the public in Germany. And of course, outside of Germany, we had that film many times, or the film of Mr. Dvorak from Czech Republic, which is titled Stolen Kosovo, or the book of Jacques Hogar from Paris, which is titled Europe Died in Kosovo, or the other book, One Dirty War for a Criminal State, also by Pierre Péan, a French author. So what is based on lies really could not be justified. And I think that Czech President Miloš Zeman has been so far the most honest leader of NATO country to come to Belgrade and publicly apologize on behalf of his country because Czech Republic participated in that, I would say, criminal war. But there is a certain document of Mr. Willy Wimmer, a German politician, who wrote a report to Chancellor Schroeder on the 2nd of May, year 2000. report was from NATO summit in Bratislava. And there are about 10 points of that report. One is that in spite of legalistic approach of our European allies, the war against Yugoslavia is the precedent which will be used whenever necessary. It was stated by high representatives of United States. And it was stated like precedent almost for anybody, not for NATO only, but precedent to wage the war contrary to international law and without authorization of the UN Security Council. And really, we, after that aggression, we cannot speak about a feasible, functionable peace and security system on our continent. It was almost destroyed. It has the name, it has bureaucracy, but it has no power, real power to resolve problems. So Willy Wimmer also transmitted to the history the position of NATO that Russia should be cut from Baltic to Anatolia by borderline, by permanent control and so on. And that Russia should be also...
just 1 second. Just 1 second. We have to just stop talking about for a second, because we just got cut off with the stream.
Okay, thank you.
So maybe your information was too,
too hot.